Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Zoom Into Wine. It's time for the show and your host, Ian Blackburn.
Diana Washington, I get a kick out of you, and I get a kick out of the fact that we're going to get started right now. Zooming Into Wine, my name is Ian Blackburn, and we are full-time on Zoom Into Wine these days. I run a program called learnaboutwine.com and Wine LA. And I'm also the wine buyer for merchantofwine.com, a wine retail store. And tonight we are celebrating Valentines a little bit early, pulling together some good people to taste a little rosé with my good friend, Sarah J. Halstead. Hi, Sarah.
Okay.
Screen.
I am ready now.
Look at you. You even pulled the sweater.
I did. It's Valentine's, sort of, almost. And
Awesome.
I'm so excited to be here. I tell you, this is the most excitement I've had since Fonzie jumped the shark. It really is.
I am a huge Fonzarelli fan, so I get it.
That's the same kind of invigorating excitement I feel all day. I could not wait for this, actually all week since you've asked, and I'm thrilled to be here. I haven't been able to perform as a comedian in clubs, so this is really nice for me. So thanks for letting me amalgamate my two passions, which are bubbles and jokes.
Yeah, that's a great combo, and you look so fantastic. And we got some wonderful people joining us tonight. And I just want to kind of reach out across the screen and say hello to everybody. Thank you, Stephen Frankel, for joining us. You and your friend there. I hope you guys enjoy. And Lauren, thank you. And Christy, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. I found some.
All right, good job.
You're all prepared.
Jeff, how are you, sir?
I'm good to see you.
I'm so happy to join us. How is Cameraville doing?
It's great. My hit podcast. We'll cover that in some other live evening.
No, tell us what it is. We gotta promote everybody here.
Great new.
Oh my God. I have a podcast about vintage cameras and camera collecting called I Dream of Cameras. Enough about me.
I love it.
It's a great podcast, everyone.
Yeah. Well, we have some great friends here. Alicia, how are you tonight? Thanks for joining us. Noreen's on the Zoom, and Lisa and Chris, thank you all for joining us. We've got a little business to take care of here, and we'll focus on the lovely Sarah. Sarah, how did you get into wine?
Really through happenstance. Just like the inception of Bubbles, it really was by accident. You know, I was an actor in New York City in my 20s, and while supporting myself during the performing off Broadway.
I
was
yeah.
very small, everyone. But while supporting myself, I was a bartender, you know, and for whatever reason, I always bartended at French bistros, who usually coincidentally, they had really great wine lists that incorporated old world wines. And I befriended the wine rep, and then I befriended, you know, all of the wine professionals that would frequent the little bistro, and they gave me responsibility of the wine program, and I started, you know, managing the inventory, and I kind of just really grew this intense passion for wine. And I wanted to take just a little break from acting, and I thought, well, why don't I go? I kind of like this. Yeah, I'm kind of envious of the wine rep. You know, he's not at a restaurant for 8 hours. He's wearing a suit and has a wine bag and gets to taste wine all day. Little did I know it's actually a very difficult vocation. But at the time, it seemed really, you know, very glamorous. So it was a long time ago. I started in the wine industry. Let me just say, it was so long ago that I had a beeper.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? I had a beeper, and we didn't have, you know, car phones and cell phones when I started in the wine business. I had to go to the payphone and manually punch in my orders. And it was hell.
That's right. I remember I used to have to carry this like box that we put up to the phone and it would sync our orders. I forgot about that.
And the pay phones were nasty, and cut off time to put in all your orders, because we're calling on customers all day and tasting wines with them, and they, let us know what they want delivered for the next day. And so we have to, put in the order and arrange that. And it was really stressful, to find a working phone booth, one that wasn't covered with 10 pieces of recycled gum and, and yeah, so that was when I started. And and the wine bags did not even have wheels.
No.
Right.
Throw your back out every day.
Absolutely. Thank God for the person who came up with wheels on wine bags. Why did that take so long?
It's a genius device. I think Costco, brought us to that. Everything at Costco has wheels on it.
Yes. So then I, from there, I started with a little route, and then I met Donald Hess. And I don't know if you've ever heard of the Hess collection, but he offered me a position to manage the state of New York for him, and did that for a little while. And then I had an opportunity to transition over to the champagne industry. That's when things really started to get a lot of fun. I mean, it was fun before, but it really became very fun, where I did not even feel like it was a job a lot of the time. And it's still to this day, I'm very, very passionate about sparkling wine and champagne. And I moved to Miami, and because that is the largest champagne capital in the world. And I moved to Miami, and I represented a brand called Pyrotechnics, which is the flower bottle that you may be familiar with. And its little brother, Champagne Moom, M-U-M-M, or Mums, some people say, but it's actually Champagne Moom. And I did that for like 7 years.
Wow.
And then I worked for a little brand called Laurent Perrier, no relation to Perrier Jouet, a completely different entity. Some neat women, all female champagne house, and I did that for about 4 years. And I just had always dreamed of living on the West Coast. So about 5 years ago, I moved out here to LA, and I took a little break and got back into my entertainment roots. I started doing comedy full time, and doing stand up in most of the comedy clubs around town, Comedy Store, Flappers, the Laugh Factory, and but then I missed wine. So I was like, well, I just kind of have to try to find this balance. And I discovered Bill Foley and this wonderful portfolio of wines, including Lucien Albrecht, which we're going to talk about tonight. And that's where I am. That's where I am today. And you and I met you like my first day in the industry.
Amazing.
It really is.
I remember it was in New York, right?
It was in New York. It was and I barely knew my grapes. I mean, I really had no business being out as a wine professional. I was faking it. Thank God I was an actor. So I just memorized some and I'm still faking, make no mistake. I'm still 21 years later.
We fake it to make it in this business. And me too. I started my learnaboutwine.com in 1995 because I didn't know anything about wine, and I wanted a place to like share what I was learning. But 25 years later, we continue to progress, and we're learning stuff every day. I forget as much as I learn.
And you would never know it. You always had this air of just expert level in wine. I never, you've written several books on the topic, and you've always just really taken it on by storm from day one. So obviously you're very passionate about wine.
Yeah, passionate and chasing the dream just like everybody else.
Exactly.
Well, I think we should get some wine in the glass.
I think we should.
And I just wanted to share, for those that maybe aren't super comfortable, opening a bottle, just the way I do it. I get this cage thing kind of opened up. There's 5.5 turns on the cage. And on the sixth turn, you basically unlock it. So as I'm saying, you know, our lobster thermidor tonight will be served with, you can open that cage, and then I keep the cage on the cork.
That's best.
If you take the cage off, it's pretty slippery and bad things can happen.
I've seen a lot of bad things happen.
Yeah, that's a long story, but I lost my first job because my first night on the job, they asked me to wait on the owner. It was a brand new restaurant. I was supposed to be a runner, Sarah, and somebody quit and they needed a waiter, and I said I would do it, and I thought I could fake it. And I never opened a bottle of champagne before. I took that cage off, I turned my head, and the damn thing blew out of the bottle and smashed the guy right on the forehead.
Oh.
And it was the owner of the restaurant. Guess what?
Oh.
I didn't work there. I didn't work there about 5 minutes later.
You know, but really, that was his fault. That was, you know, it's
well, needless to say, that restaurant lasted about 90 days, and I was not the problem. I was not the problem. There was a lot of bad things there.
Ask me. I wish I was there. That's funny. But no, I've had a fat lip, you know, before from a stopper, you know, putting this
blowing it off your bottle.
Yes, and you know, as the temperature decreases, or as the temperature increases, so the hotter it is outside, and I worked in a warm climate, Miami, so the bottles I couldn't always keep really cold. Well, the pressure increases, so it's very difficult to keep a stopper in a bottle if it's not a proper stopper. And I bent down to get some samples, we call them, of champagne, and that baby flew right out and hit my lip, and I didn't lose a tooth or an eye.
Damn! Wow. Occupational hazards of being a champagne rep.
Exactly. So as Ian's opening this, it really does help to have a very cold bottle, because if it's not cold, there will be more pressure. So it's. And
I'm going to grab the base of this bottle. I'm going to hold on to the top with or without the cage. I'm going to twist the bottom of the bottle, not the cork. Just hold on to the cork. Twist the bottom, because you got a lot to hold on to down there, and boom, it comes off. If I did that a little bit better and maybe a little below my eye level, I would have seen that cork was coming out. You just kind of lean it over to the side and let it sigh a little bit.
Yes, but I like that sound. I prefer how you did it. That was just perfect. I like that celebratory sound, that pop, and it's contagious, especially when you're in a restaurant. And I'm, you know, I can be pretty much a follower when I hear that sound, and I'm like, oh, that sounds pretty good. I'll take a bottle of that. I'll have what she's having.
Exactly, and that's one of the few, you know, wines that we actually can appreciate the sound. You know, we can even hear it in the glass.
Yes, it's a nice little fizz. Now, I confess, I have been opening my champagne bottles over the past couple of days a different way than you just demonstrated.
Damn, I can see. Look at that.
I've been a little busy. So this, you know, I took a little break from Instagram, and I returned, and I wanted to return with a splash. So I savored a bottle of Lucien Albrecht Rosé on my terrace yesterday, and I hit the neighbor's window with the cork. It was just wonderful.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I highly recommend you watch the video. But this has always been just a fun, celebratory, Napoleonic way of opening champagne with a saber.
That's a serious commitment right there. You are going in.
I don't recommend anyone do this without watching a YouTube tutorial and do it safely. But I tell you, it's really easy, and it's really fun and wildly entertaining at parties for party guests. So don't be shy.
Work out.
Yes, but don't be shy about trying it, because once you get it down, it's fun, as long as you do it safely. You know, and I basically, it's just how you get the bottle naked, and you find the seam, and you glide the the saber or sword, if you will, from the blunt side of the sword, and you lay it flat at a 30-degree angle, and you just glide the saber up the seam, and when it hits the lip, that's the weakest point of the bottle, and the tip will gently decapitate.
Mm-hmm.
And it shoots out, and any shards of glass has shot out with the pressure. There's about 6 atmospheres of pressure in a bottle of bubbly, so it's safe to drink. But it's not safe to drink like this.
That's true. And one other thing too, make sure you take that cage and lift it above the lip before you try to do that.
Thank you, Ian. I should, yes.
I've seen people really get hurt trying to knock the damn cage off.
Yep.
At the same time, and that's just one of those little subtle things that you want to pay attention to. But it is quite the showstopper, and I want to raise a glass to you, Sarah. Let's get some.
Well, thanks.
Pleasure to have you on the Zoom, and cheers, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
I'm so happy right now. Let me drink to this out of my coupe. I'm not sure if you.
That's a really cool little coupe, by the way.
I love coupes. And the funny thing about coupes, they're really nonsensical. They're terrible.
Yeah.
But they so cool, and I just feel like I look cool drinking out of it.
You do. You do.
Okay, and look at now. Like, it's just not like really or this, huh? Hey, that's. But the reason they're nonsensical is they can't really hold the bead or the flavor. It's going to aerate too quickly. So this would be really good, like with a vintage champagne, but with what we're having, which is non-vintage and fresh, and you want it to hold the bead. So this is actually more practical, but I just love the look of this. I think they're romantic. Restaurants hate them because they don't really properly fit in a dishwasher. Mm-hmm. Servers really dislike them because they spill all over their tray when they're serving. It's just hard to serve with them, but they sure look great.
They do. They match your like your sweater and your. Yeah. I will say too, they don't hold temperature very well. They're going to really warm your wine.
Hold temperature well. Yeah, it's because it's pretty much like flat, and it's doing nothing but aerating right now.
Yeah.
So, would be this I would love to have like an old champagne where with the older the champagne, it's not about the bubble, it's about the depth and the fruit, and really tasting that territory or terroir, as they say. So that a coupe would be perfect for that exercise. What are you drinking out of, Ian?
I actually love the fact that we're drinking Pinot, and I use a big Pinot Noir stem for my sparkling. Pretty much universally, I use Pinot glass.
And because I sabered these bottles yesterday, and you can't really put a stopper in a sabered bottle, so I'm pretty much drinking Vin Clair wine, which is making a joke. That's bubbly before the CO2 process, because this is pretty flat right now. But the Pinot's really resonating out of the glass. Just really lovely wild raspberry, wild strawberry, or that organic, beautiful fruit, like the little raspberries you find when you're a kid walking through the forest. It's that kind of raspberry for me.
I got to be honest, I've sold a lot of this wine at the store, and sometimes you buy wines because you already think you know what they taste like, and you oh yeah, bring that in, that's going to be great, and it's done really well, so I haven't had to like retaste it for a while, but it's so good, and it's so
thank you, by the way,
fruit oriented.
It's done really well at Merchant of Wine. Thank you so much. I'm actually surprised at how much you're going through. So it's what I really love about wines from Alsace, and this is from Orschwer, between Germany and the Vosne Mountains. And pardon my French, if anyone speaks French, I really chopped that name, but the terroir is so similar to Champagne. It's the almost identical climate, identical altitude and identical soil, almost. Very, very small difference in nuance. So it really has that depth and minerality that's very similar to Champagne, just a stone throw away from the region of Champagne. But because it's not Champagne, the farmers get paid significantly less for their fruit. And that is why we can get really great price, we very low costs on sparkling wine versus Champagne. Mm-hmm. So it's a gross injustice, if you ask me. I'm not saying it should be the same price as Champagne, but I think it should be a little higher than it is, their rate for the fruit.
I don't know, but I love the fact of the price where it's at, man. I can pull a cork.
Well, you're my friend. You're on the family plan. No one is gonna this wine at your rate that you get. So I highly recommend everyone only buy it through Ian.
Well, it is a great wine for the money, and that's what we're all about. We always try to find wines that deliver really good value and stuff, and this has a cool story and comes from a cool place. Sarah, do you mind if I go into that PowerPoint and share a little bit of that?
I would love that.
Okay, nice little glam shot there. So we're looking at and sometimes this brand is so powerful, I forget how good the Lucien Albrecht wine, and it's Brecht, right? Not Brecht. Brecht.
Albrecht. It's kind of fun.
Sheshi.
Yes.
But he's a very good brand of Alsatian wines, and Alsace, is famous for a lot of different grape varieties. But this whole Cremant category is kind of new.
It is kind of new, and considering that the winery was established in 1698, but the AOC of regulating, establishing Cremant d'Alsace was much later. Mm-hmm. And really it didn't become a major brand in the U.S., this Lucien Albrecht, until 2018. So it's and the real challenge with the history of sparkling wine and Champagne, the challenge is it had been through so many, because of the First and Second World War, a lot of the documentation had been destroyed. So we just have to go by folklore of how it really came about. So we don't really have a lot of hard facts. There's a lot of folklore, and these marketing companies that are very, very talented, Veuve Clicquot and Dom Perignon and PJ, and we actually need to get better at our storytelling, Lucien, but we kind of have to spice it up a little bit for marketing, and we're not really sure if the history really happened the way Veuve Clicquot says it happened, or because if you ask Dom Perignon, they'll tell you they invented Champagne, or the second fermentation in the bottle, which, there's, what do you think, Ian?
I think they, apparently if you say it over and over again, people start to believe it. So,
learn this in politics.
I think that's the part of it is, they lay claim to the story, and they, basically say it more times than anybody else, and it becomes kind of the way people re-spit it out. And I mean, there was sparkling wine long before Dom Perignon, that's for sure.
There certainly was, yes.
And but he does get the credit for organizing the shit. The stuff was.
He had a great deal to do with perfecting Champagne, as did Madame Clicquot, absolutely. As did Napoleon. I mean, they all played a very interesting role, as did Balthazar Albrecht. So just kind of segue into that. I mean, he was a pioneer for being one of the main founders of Alsace.
1698. I mean, that's crazy history, and Alsace has seen it all. This is a place that got the shit kicked out of them every time there was a dispute or a battle. They were the first place to go down. And literally one of the reasons why there's just not a lot of people able to work in the vineyards and in the towns is that the male population in this town has been decimated for about 500 years or more. And so it's always a challenge for the Alsatians to, put up big numbers.
Yes.
But a little bit more on there, Sarah. Go ahead. I don't want to cut you off.
No. It's just we're drinking Grand Cru, 2 Grand Cru vineyards, which regulated as being the best. Finsberg and Spiegel, and this is all from the Orschwer terroir region, and 100,000 years ago there was a sea that covered the northern tip of Europe, and as it receded it left this incredible crescent of chalk and limestone, and that's what this soil is, in combination with the altitude and the cool climate, and they just really produce wonderful Pinot Noir and Chardonnay and Riesling and Gewürztraminer and Pinot Gris and Pinot Blanc.
This is like one of the most beautiful places on the planet too. I mean, they're so eco focused. Most people have been practicing something that's very close to biodynamics for centuries. And
before it was even really invented, they were just doing it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. No machinery is permitted by law. So that's really nice. Everything is certified sustainable, and they have very little attitude compared to, it's not pretentious. These are farmers. It's really approachable. And if you're ever, anyone on this call, if you're ever in the area, please contact me, and we would love to roll out the red carpet for you. We love to entertain.
Let me throw it out there too. If you go on a trip here, my first trip to France, I go to Alsace with my good friend Clay Moritzen, and we went into the vineyards and did some tasting, rolled around town with a couple of really good wine people, and we had to catch the train out on our last day at 6 a.m. And so we asked the hotel if they could arrange for a car to take us to the train station or taxi, whatever. This was way before Uber. And then he's like, the taxis don't work that early here. And so I'm like, how are we gonna get to the train station? And literally the owner of the hotel got up at 4 a.m. and took us to the train station.
Oh, that is cool.
So tell me, some people say, the French give you a little bit of attitude. Bullshit. I want you to show me a city in Los Angeles or in America that the owner of the hotel would take you to the train station. That would never happen.
Right. I love that story. Yeah. Who was the winery? Do you remember who?
Oh, we saw many, but we went to we went and saw a lot of the big classic brands and hung out with some real legends up there in Alsace, and it was really a beautiful trip, and the food was amazing, the scenery, and being able to have some really good personal stories is what the travel is always about for me. So
that's what it's about for me. And I think, it is for a lot of people. I think that it's nostalgia and the stories that you acquire through traveling and meeting the people. Am I still on? Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're still there. You're the star now.
I didn't like sharing the spotlight with PowerPoint.
Yeah, I understand.
But that is, I can't tell you how many times, when people have approached me, I got engaged to this bottle, or this is where, our 25th wedding anniversary was to this bottle. And he proposed to me with this bottle, and or we traveled and the chef de cave did this, and we had frog legs and foie gras and anything disgusting like that. It's disgusting, but when you're there, it's really damn good. And it's the stories that really kind of create that nostalgia that builds, I hate to call them a brand, I really do, but builds these iconic houses, maisons, if you will.
For sure.
And what I really appreciate about you, Ian, I've always admired this about you. You have that curiosity. You have traveled. Is there any wine region you have not traveled?
I'm sure, yes, quite a few. And I got lots of travel in front of me. I can't wait to get on a plane and go someplace far away and get lost. I really want to go see the wine regions in China and India. I've been seeing those places.
Yeah, so those are the really obscure, rather new areas that we're just discovering. But in terms of, in terms of old world, you've been to every region, I would imagine. And
almost. I mean, there's a couple really big glaring gaps, but I got to get to Austria. Actually, not been to Austria.
Yeah, those are fantastic wines.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. Yeah, crisp and great with food.
Well, I think we have a couple more slides to show, but we don't have to show in super depth. Anybody that's on this on this show tonight will get a copy of the PowerPoint.
Oh, great.
And, I wanted to just kind of bring us back here. I lost that slide. There we go. So this is a picture of the winemaker, Jerome Keller.
And he actually has charisma, believe it or not. It's a crapshoot when you get these chef de caves. You never know, I mean, you just hope. I mean, the most important thing is that they have the talent. But when they have the personality on top of it, it's such a lucky thing. So we're really, really lucky to have him. He's absolutely brought these sparkling wines to the next level. He has came from Dijon, University of Enology, a very just spectacular rock star background, very passionate. And ever since we've had him as our chef de cave, or winemaker, they call them chef de cave in France. Coincidentally, our accolades have gone through the roof, just coincidentally. And sometimes that matters to people. Sometimes, people don't look at accolades, but I don't know. What do you think about accolades from James Suckling and Wine Spectator? What is your opinion on that, Ian?
Well, I think that you have to add it all up. It's just like points of light. Every time a big reviewer takes the time to taste a wine and give some press to it, it moved them enough to do so. And I think the reviewer thing's really important to wine. I really do. I think it's a great tool to teach people. And I think, whatever they're doing at Lucy and Albrecht, they need to do it more because they're really kicking some butt. And I believe that.
With me, you can say ass.
Okay, we can too, because this is an over 21 audience, so we can say whatever we want.
But yeah, no, it's a badass chef de cave, really taking these wines to the next level. And it's not just the sparklings. He has tremendously great still wine, and they're rare. You can't find them hardly really anywhere because these were very dominant in the restaurant category of business, and restaurants have been closed. So Ian, I would love if you were the only one that carried these still wines. They're outstanding. They're fun. They're very, very, very teeny tiny production, but the Gewürztraminer, Riesling, the Pinot Blanc, the Pinot Gris, and then they have the same varietal in Reserve. Just absolutely outstanding, especially with spicy food. If you like Indian, I like it with Indian. That's my preference.
I will have to get together and taste so I can pick which ones. I love having a lot of Alsatian wine around, and these wines are awesome and they're very affordable for what they are. I mean, compared to other great wines from great places with Grand Cru and old vines and things like that. These wines age like titans. Like they
like titans. That's so well said. They have the ability for longevity. They're one of the rare exceptions. A lot of white wine, especially American whites, cannot age, but these wines can. So the older, the better.
Yeah, they get pretty interesting. So a lot of cool big scores, and I think that every time it gets a score like that too in a magazine like the Wine Enthusiast, like buying an ad, it's just a very important thing to remind people this is a great wine and it's still a great wine, and the next time they see it, it's still a great wine, and it just kind of reinforces what we already know. And I'm going to drink some more.
I really love the rosé with milk chocolate.
Ooh.
Not dark chocolate. It's not bittersweet, but milk chocolate is just heaven. And that's kind of my favorite pairing. But of course, because it's Pinot Noir, it's 100% Pinot Noir, so it also goes very well with game. It also goes very well with mushroom sauces.
Mm.
It's very versatile. You can have this and because it's dry, it goes really nicely with the simplest snacks. Anything with salt,
Let me tell you what I loved with it recently is I have overindulged constantly during this pandemic, and I make really good chocolate chip cookies, and I put a little bit of salt in them, and chocolate chip cookies, a little salted chocolate chip cookie with this wine is insanity. It's the absolute, yeah. I'm going to recommend it highly.
Okay, I see my boyfriend is smiling because he knows after this that I'm gonna be like, yeah, chocolate chip cookies with sea salt.
Oh, I got to get you some of mine, Jeff.
Yeah,
we've taken it up about 10 notches. By the way, there's like a local place here in LA that grinds like ancient grains of flour and stuff, and we're playing with that, and we're playing with some really interesting old school recipes. So I think my cookies are getting up there in the upper echelon.
No doubt.
Yeah.
I have.
Yeah. So yeah, we love the wine, and it's drinking great, and it's a great value. I'm just really blessed to be able to have it and be able to talk to you about it.
Yeah, and I just want more people like you to have it, So thanks, for this. And we just came out with our little 375 milliliter.
Ooh, cute.
Yes, and it looks like Brut, but it's actually the Brut Rosé. And we put it in the darker glass to just protect it, because smaller sizes in champagne, they don't age as well. That's the only caveat. So just to really protect the fruit, we put it in the darker glass. But this is rosé, and they're brand new to the market. No one has seen these, and it's a cork finish, which I think is really important. So the same as champagne, and the second fermentation took place in the bottle. So it's method traditionnel, which is rare for half bottles. Usually, chef de caves don't want to mess with that, and they'll transfer it because it's just difficult for that process to happen in a little mini bottle.
Mm-hmm.
So it's special, and they're new, and they're out there, and then we have the Brut. And what I love with the Brut, the regular Brut, Lucien Albrecht, my favorite pairing is popcorn. So
salted
popcorn, yeah, the best. And another really simple, inexpensive snack to have with Brut sparkling wine is baby tomatoes dipped in sea salt.
Really?
simple, most inexpensive thing, and it is outstanding. Have a little baby tomato with Himalayan sea salt and take a little taste of Brut sparkling wine. Fantastic.
I love fried chicken. Fried chicken's great with bubbles, and I think the rosé would do really well. But the Brut would probably be the first thought for that. But with the Brut, I would probably love it with some salmon.
Yes.
Sushi would be amazing with this wine.
Amazing. Sushi is amazing. And sometimes you have to watch. Salmon and sea bass can be a little tricky to pair because of the omega-3. They're heavy. It's heavy fish sometimes. But these wines can handle it. So they're full enough. The whole Elbridge line, where it can handle the depth of the omega-3 factor. So that would be really good together.
Cool. So Sarah, what else is coming up for you? What do you have coming up on your radar?
Well, let's see. I have been working for Bill Foley for the past year and a half, and he owns Lucian, and he owns a plethora of other iconic brands, and it's just been a really nice adventure. I'm really enjoying it, and I'm his Southern California manager, and I like to perform comedy, and as the restrictions are being lifted, and we can hang out outside, I plan to have hopefully a full schedule of shows really soon. It's not really like a light switch with producers, and we're gonna have to kind of get it together in the parking lots and such for these outdoor shows. But as soon as that starts to get a little bit of we get into our groove, I look forward to having a full schedule. I'm also going to relaunch my podcast, Drinking During Business Hours. And I don't want to put you on the spot in front of all these people, Ian, but it would be my honor if you would launch that with me.
Oh, wow. I would love to, Sarah. That would be so nice.
Great.
I listened to them almost, I think, every single one. And
really? It was it was wildly popular, and I took a break from it, and I started podcasting for the Comedy Store, and with like high profile people, and they weren't nearly as successful as that little podcast I had called Drinking During Business Hours. People just were really intrigued, I think, with the concept. And it's not necessarily a show about wine. I would basically interview entertainers over a great bottle of wine. So, we would just talk about their journey, and you're a creator, Ian. So, I'd be honored to have you. So,
thanks.
You're the first guest, the relaunch. So that's coming soon.
I can't.
And then I'm back on social media. I took a little break, but I'm back, and I'm Sarah J. Halstead on all social media platforms. And
I was really impressed when I did a little research, because I honestly, I get so busy. I have a couple of Facebook posts here and there, but getting past my own page and looking at other things, then I looked at your Instagram, and I was like, 60-something thousand people are following you. That's amazing. That's super. That's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. I actually got really burned out and took a break for like a month and a half, because I figured just recently, I figured there's nothing more entertaining than what's happening politically. So I had really nothing to say, definitely, and it's actually unfortunate, but everything going on politically is front and center stage right now. So I was just kind of waiting for that to die down. That, okay, I'll take a break. What am I going to do? Post a selfie of, myself drinking Lucian while there's, Capitol riots going on? It felt a little narcissistic, to say the least. So I took a little break, but I just like to be funny. I'm a goofball on my Instagram, and if you know, if you might want to check it out, and I'll give you the most unique sabering lesson ever. I did that promoting this show, so
Uh,
I'm not sure it worked because I don't see anyone from my Instagram on there. So I think if anything, it may have been a deterrent, but you know what? I tried, and I'm just trying my best. That's all we do. Try our best.
Well, you are an original, and that's what's great about you. You are authentic to the bone, and that laugh, that smile is super genuine, and that's why everyone loves to surround themselves with you, right, Jeff?
This is my boyfriend Jeff, and say something. Talk about the chocolate chip cookies. We're gonna have fried chicken and champagne.
Yeah, I loved your mention of fried chicken and champagne, because for our anniversary, which is New Year's, we had a bucket of KFC and some Lucien Albrecht, right? Isn't that what?
We also bought some champagne from Ian.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Remember, I
can attest to the fact that those pair remarkably well.
Yes.
Yeah.
We bought some traditional champagne from you, and really enjoyed it. I liked the visual. It was just KFC. It was KFC and a bottle of outstanding Taittinger.
You know how much work it is to make fried chicken? That is like that takes like 5 hours of time.
Yeah, see, they don't get enough cred, if you ask me.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I every time I make fried chicken, my house smells like burnt oil for 4 or 5 days, and I'm having to wash the entire inner hood of the stove and multiple washings of the pans. So
what are you doing, plucking the feathers? What's going on over there?
I really get into the cooking thing, so you can ask people. I have friends that will not let me cook at their house anymore because I make a mess. I am all about getting the most flavor. I'm not trying to be super clean about it. I do like to clean as I go, but I can make some bad things happen in the kitchen too. I have
a comment from Alexandra saying amen to that, brother. So she must have made some messes in the kitchen.
Now, I'm all about the biggest, fullest, moment, the flavor, everything.
You're going for the product. You're not going for.
I cannot let that little piece of dirt's going to get away from me. I'm sorry, because I'm here.
Worry about that.
Can't burn this, damn it.
Love it.
Well, I really appreciate you spending some time with me, Sarah. Thank you so much.
Anything else? Are we supposed to be on till 8? Am I cutting it short?
No, there's no commercial break or anything. We just go straight through.
Oh, okay.
So we're all done. But we could laugh and make some comments to folks, but I want to thank everybody for being here. And if you have anything you want to say or any questions for Sarah, now is the time.
Oh, look at all this. Okay, we have all kinds of questions. If you don't mind. Again,
Kent is on the Zoom with us from Ohio, I think. Is that right, Kent?
So Kent is asking, do you really use the blunt side of the saber to cut the champagne bottles? Yes, you do. It's just easier. You can try with this side because it's not sharp. I love doing this in front of people. It's just
yeah, don't get carried away with that.
I think knife once is not a good thing. You want to make sure you have the right. But even though this is not really a sharp, it's just going to be easier to hit the lip because you're really going for that weakest part in the bottle, so it will just be a nice clean break. And this was not my best break, as you can see. It was. I'm getting a little rusty. We're gonna have to savor some more bottles. Maybe that should be. Maybe we could dedicate a future show to just savoring.
What I love to do with my savoring is I put a trash can about 10 feet away from me, and I try to saber it and make it into the trash can. And one time in a room with 40 people in it, 12 feet away, I had this little teeny trash can about this big, and I'm gonna try to aim it for the trash can, and I right into the freaking trash can. The room went freaking crazy. It was awesome. It was one of those moments that'll live on in infamy.
That's a great little party, you know. At Mum Napa, I highly recommend Mum Napa. It's like a fun place to hang. If you're ever in the area, they have a chef de cave, a Frenchman with a mullet. He's wonderful. But they have a little party trick where you saber the little bottles, and if you get it, if you make the basket, you win a little bottle.
Oh, wow.
But that's kind of a good idea for parties in general, you know?
Yeah, I as long as people don't cut their hands off, because it can happen.
I would imagine I've seen some sabering go horribly wrong.
Well, there's a famous video on YouTube at the French Laundry where they're trying to saber like a 6-liter, $10,000 bottle of champagne, and you would think they would know better. You don't want a bottle that big to be sabered.
Old. The older the champagne, the less vigor. It's going to be harder. It's just not going to have. It's not going to have the pressure to properly saber. And yeah, big. It's not good either.
Those aren't very strong, those bottles.
Right. And I felt really badly for that. He was a very famous, well, he's like the general manager of French Laundry. And I think he was just so embarrassed. And that video will be on forever.
It has millions of views. So yeah, he's going to never let that one down. But we've all done stuff that we are glad is not on video. That's for sure.
That's for sure. I've sabered twice on live television at the Sobe Wine and Food Fest, which is one of the highest profile wine and food festivals in the nation. And the first time I sabered, a bottle of vintage champagne, not my favorite. I like sabering non-vintage because I know it's going to be nice and robust. Right. Just keeping my fingers crossed, and you know, it went swimmingly, really well. And then the next year, it didn't go.
It didn't happen.
Oh, I am so, and no one can find the video, and they're trying to find the video, but no one can find it, thank God. I'm not the most talented saberer anyway, you know, I'm not really, you know, I see these experts that do it with a razor. A razor blade.
I've seen some crazy stuff. I've seen people saber a bottle with the bottom of a champagne glass.
Oh, I've seen that as well.
And so I tried to do that once. I'm thinking, okay, I'm pretty competent with doing the sabering thing. I actually, on my website, one of the things you can hire me to do is to come and saber a bottle at your special event. Nice. And I show up in my tuxedo, and I bring out my big sword, and I have my sash, and you know, we can throw more into it if we need to. We could get some pyrotechnics going on, and and so I literally, check this out, I'm not kidding, I got hired to do this wedding, once in a lifetime wedding, and those that were there will talk about this forever. John Mayer was the performer who opened for Usher, by the way. Oh. And then I come out in this, and they rented the entire resort and hundreds of rooms for a week. Okay. And this is a massive party, and I come out to saber the event, and I do my job, and I send the cork across the dance floor like I'm supposed to, and everything worked out great. Okay, this is all good. But the bride goes running over to want to pick up the cork with all the glass around it, and I just like saw the future, this multi-million-dollar wedding where the bride slices her hands open and bleeds all over this, you know, probably $400,000 custom wedding dress. And I had run across. But when I went backstage, there were all these entertainers hanging out. I started talking to them and stuff. And we got into talking about sabering. And so I said, yeah, I heard you could take the base of a glass and saber. So I went for it. I got this, pretty select audience of entertainers back there. And I said, let's try it. And I took the glass and I ripped it across the top, and the damn glass just ripped my hand wide open. I bled out for days. So that was my, I would not recommend trying it with the base of a wine glass. Let's just say that.
And may I ask, and I don't mean to, be that person, but were you a little buzzed?
I was freaking flying. I was so high from the, okay. So plus they're passing out shots everywhere. So even before I went out onto the dance floor to do my thing, someone gave me a shot saying, you might want to, calm down. Here's a little something. And that's one will be all right. So by the time I go to do it with the glass, I think I was on shot 5, and that I didn't even feel it. I didn't even know how bad I'd ripped my hand open because I was just completely blasted.
That's usually the case. We're feeling good. We have a little, and bubbles go to your head too. It's like a little special kind of buzz. And that's when we forget that, it's dangerous. But I kind of really dig the fact that you tried and you took a chance. And, those entertainers will remember you more than
Remember that guy that cut his face on the glass and
John Mayer is still talking about you, and Usher's writing a song about you.
I'm
guarantee
sure.
you.
I'm sure he already did.
I tell you, everyone, Ian Blackburn has the most glamorous friends, and you really downplay it. I wouldn't doubt if you were the officiant to Brad and Jen. You know everybody.
I did not do that masterpiece, but I do have some great friends, and you're one of them. So
you are kind of like the celebrity Sam. Like I think you are definitely like someone that if people want that white glove Sam approach, the high profile celebs, I have a feeling that you're someone that they call.
My business manager sells me that way, so that's good because we do ask for a lot of money to do it, but it is great to have an opportunity to really embarrass yourself every once in a while.
That's the best. I do it every night on stage. So we have a couple comments here that are really good, and I just want to say, Noreen, she said the Grand Cru Riesling is the bomb. Yes, it is. Totally concur. And then
Noreen can sell ice to Eskimos, so she works in the wine industry, and I buy almost everything from her sight unseen. She'll tell me, she'll be like, Ian, you gotta have this one. And I'll be like, all right.
Yeah, she's very, very good at her job. That's for sure. Very talented.
And I save her bottles with wine glasses all the time, Ian.
Oh, I gotta see that. I gotta get schooled, Doreen.
That's right. I need to learn. Let's do that in a video, Noreen, please.
When I met Noreen was a model with she had a car, like a sports car that said ZAM on the license plate, I think. Is that right?
No, it was a 78 Trans Am, and the license plate said muscled up.
Okay. Well, you always had this incredible presence on the floor, I will say. And so Noreen was a somm at some top restaurants in LA. And so when she says the wine's pretty good, it's usually pretty freaking good. And also under pandemic conditions, you kind of have to buy things based on reputation. And so she's batting a really strong, like 982, I think is your average out of 1,000. So pretty awesome, Noreen.
Thank you.
Not only is she a model, she's also a boxer.
Wow. and a mama.
And a mama.
Everything woman.
Baby's on a monitor while I drink some rosé.
All right.
Good. That's the best. So a comment from Christy: is it recommended that we drink the bottle by tomorrow, even with a wine stopper? No. If you put the bottle stopper in right away, that CO2 will hold. It's important to have a high quality bottle stopper. So I highly recommend the stoppers that hug the lip of the bottle. I don't have one on me, but you know what I mean. There are several that you can find, but they're the really high quality stoppers they will have a. Do you know what I mean, Ian? How do you explain it? The kind that snug the lip.
Sure, a couple teeth for the top of the bottle. Look, Noreen's got one there. That's actually a fantastic version right there.
That's it, Noreen. That's it.
I've got a really low quality bottle stopper. It's my wife. She's always like, the hand, like, all right.
But no, as long as you put that stopper in right away and don't let too much air get to the bottle, it will last for days.
Yeah, actually, and especially with a good stopper, a wine like this might actually outdistance champagne too, which I think is because champagne has got a much older cuvee, and that age, that gentleness in the bottle, it won't stay as fresh as a bottle like this. So they're lower price point, nothing stops you from popping the cork, and the fact that it will age, I'd say 3 or 4 days in a refrige, you'll be fine. And if you don't get to it by the 4th day, it's the best deglazing wine for a pan, for sauce, for food. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. And I just want to know, Alicia, where do I buy cookie dough delivered?
Alicia knows, she knows all that stuff. She's got it figured out.
This is what happens when you're stuck at home.
Alicia doesn't have a car, so she has figured out how to get everything delivered.
I could go for that right now.
Yeah, she's pretty a lot of ingenuity coming out of Alicia. She lives very close to where the Wine LA Merchant of Wine office is, and she's been able to MacGyver all kinds of stuff. I'm pretty impressed. She buys stuff off of eBay, she fixes it, and she doesn't take it anywhere too. She has it mailed to her house.
Savvy on all fronts.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
So Kent says that they have a saber, and what would you recommend for the easiest bottle to start the process? Wow. Well, I don't know about you, Ian, but I highly recommend they start with a non-vintage champagne for that process, or a non-vintage sparkling wine, something with a lot of pressure in the bottle. Get it really nice and cold, and I think that would be the safest way to go about that. What do you think?
That sounds good. I do actually have a rider in my contract that if we're going to saber something, I'm not going to saber Prosecco. Okay. A lot of fancy glass bottles. They're oddly shaped and can really blow up very easily. And so a good dependable champagne house has a really good quality glass, and the requirements for that that champagne are pretty high for aging it in the cellar for many years. So the glass bottle is very, very strong, and a really good idea not to play around with anything less than that.
I tell you, and I'm not just saying this, but Lucien Albrecht is a great bottle to saber. I can attest, as you can see. I'm kind of really with myself with this break. See how nice and clean I got this one. But this one wasn't as clean. I kind of chopped that up at the top. But this, there should always be, sometimes Cremant can have less atmospheres of pressure in the bottle. So, you have to kind of know what you're sabering, but when they're really youthful, then you can rely on them to execute a nice saber. But you kind of don't want to start with really expensive bottles of champagne. Ooh, look at that, Ian. That's a nice cut.
Yeah, I got this one real nice. And I will say that's what I mean by getting the cage above the lip there.
Yeah, that's gorgeous.
That is my prototype right there.
I like that a lot. So yes, you might not want to start with something really expensive just in case it falls off your hand, you know. Oh, also, please, please, please wear gloves the first few times. Wear gloves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some bad things can happen. And that's why they don't hand you a sword at a restaurant and say, here.
Right, exactly. Watch the YouTube tutorials, really feel, you know, well versed on the subject before you begin. But, you know, Kent, let us know, will you? Keep us posted. Where is Kent up here? I want to see who I'm talking to. Oh, okay. Hi, you guys. How are you tonight? I will never forget the first time I sabered. I'll never forget it. It was just like a magical moment for me.
You can tell he's really into wine. He's got the cellar behind him is not a virtual background.
I wondered.
That's a reality. Yeah.
You are a serious collector. I'm happy to meet you both. Thanks for being on.
Sarah lived in Florida for a while too. Where's your place down in Florida, Kent? Oh, that's right. We can't hear you.
I lived in Miami for 12 years. I lived right next door to the Bee Gees for 12 years.
That's so cool. Did you ever see the Bee Gees?
All the time. But, you know, I was kind of naive to the background of, I didn't realize all that phenomenal music came out of Miami.
I know that Bee Gees documentary. I think
so good.
So good I'm so into music, as are you. You play piano too, right, Sarah?
I do not. I just play classical. I'm not, you know, I just Chopin and Mozart.
That's so good.
No, I just was never cool. Like I was never able. I'm classically trained, and it can be a crutch. I've never been able to cross over. I tried jazz, and I'd like to play it because I really admire jazz musicians. I've just never been able to get rid of that metronome head of mine, you know. So I'm just a classical musician, but I really, really love music a lot. And the Bee Gees lived next to me, and I wonder what their drink of choice was. I'm not really sure. Maybe Ken knows.
Hello.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, there was a moment when I loved the movie where they were talking about, the kind of that moment where people started to say they hated disco, and that was, I think, a real. I mean, imagine being the Bee Gees and all the fight that they had, making all the great music, and then they freaking practically invented disco.
They did. Oh, they were the front. They did the falsetto. Yeah.
Crazy.
They kind of were the frontier of that, and that's my favorite part of the documentary. And it just goes on and on and on. You think, well, how many waves of success can they have? But they, they have, it just goes on for decades. They just sustained themselves and would reinvent themselves. But my favorite part was when they were going over the causeway where South Beach meets Miami Beach. And Barry Gibb said it was a noisy, and I know this causeway so well. I used to go over it every day. And he heard that, and that's how Jive Talkin', he got the idea.
Seriously? Wow, how cool.
I was like, yes, that's the bridge. I went over it every day to call on the Fontainebleau, But yeah, it's really fun to hear those stories for sure. Okay, Kent, just mouth you two mouth where you live in Florida.
So Sarah, can you hear us now?
Yeah.
Oh, hey. Right.
All right. So we had technology issues here. Sorry about that. So we are right now Ohioans, but we spend a lot of time on Sanibel Island, Florida.
So gorgeous.
Yes,
Gorgeous.
and the wine prices are much cheaper down there than Ohio. Let me just tell you.
Oh my gosh, that's really, yeah, that's interesting.
You know,
So my wife has bought me now the second Saber and is still awaiting the trial of us doing this, which I have not been brave enough to do yet because I really don't want it in my mouth and eyes and everything else. So I'm trusting you with the blunt side of the blade that we can pull this off.
You can pull it
But
off.
we have, and we'll get a medium priced bottle of champagne,
Cry.
and hopefully that'll work. Correct?
Yeah, non-vintage, medium priced, maybe a nice grower champagne. You don't want to break the bank, and just hold it out, point it at your neighbor's window the way I did yesterday.
We're in the country, so that would be a long ways away.
I hit the sucker. I was very proud of myself. And this is the neighbor that smokes cigarettes on his balcony all day with no regard to his neighbors around him. So I didn't feel bad hitting the window.
Well, maybe at our lake house neighbors we'll do it.
But yes, hold it away from you at a 30-degree angle and just slide that Saber right up the seam of the bottle. And
Perfect.
But Ian, do you have a tutorial out there on sabering?
No, I quite honestly, the fewer people that know how to saber, the more I get employed.
Yeah.
And
Ian, just for laughs, we'll send you the video when Kent does it.
yeah,
I will appreciate it. I
And
appreciate
Ian-
it well. And please,
Ian, I would bring you back in a heartbeat, but the whole tuxedo thing, it's just all wonderful. We could have a great party here, but that sounds expensive, bringing you back here and the tastes and putting you up and all that, you know?
5-star hotel.
In Central Ohio. We'll have to build it.
But you know, it's not me. It's my business manager, my wife. She's the she's the one with the 15-point, like, you know, writer, I guess they call it, you know, with all the you know.
No green M&Ms. No green M&Ms.
Yeah.
Did you hear that, Van?
Yeah,
I'm going to do the straw story.
Good for her.
she knows what she wants. So if we're gonna go someplace far away, I let her handle it. So it's all good. It's all good because it's handled. It's handled.
The business portion.
Well-
It's show business. You're the show, and Alice is the business. That's a good partnership right there.
Yeah, she's great. Well, I want to thank you, Sarah. We could keep talking, but we'll have to save it for your show, and
Yes.
we'll definitely let everybody know. But thank you guys for joining us tonight,
Need
and
everyone.
we got some music to go out on.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you guys. Have a great night. I hope to see you at Zoom Into Wine. Come and join us again very, very soon. And have a great night.
Keep us posted with the sabering doobies.
Cheers.
Bye, guys. Cheers to you. Thank you.
Cheers.
Chapter.